So we filmed episode 2 on Tuesday night, and my phone had died, and it did not save our 31, almost 32-minute video.
It was terrible.
So we're back with episode 2 on Thursday night. So tonight's episode is going to focus on talking about healing and how nobody talks about the hard parts of healing and the messy parts.
Yes.
And there's going to be some tea. Don't worry.
Yeah, so, I think for me, I thought healing was going to be, this linear process. I'm healed from this. There's not going to be no bad days. When there was a point in my life where I felt like I was healed from certain situations, and when it comes back and it just hits you so hard, it comes with this disappointment.
I thought I was okay.
I'm supposed to be healed from this. And I feel like nobody talks about how it does come in waves. You can be good for days, weeks, months.
It could go all the way and then just tank one day.
I'm supposed to be healed from this. Why am I having this anger or this sadness? And it just comes with feelings of guilt, disappointment. I'm supposed to be over this. And I don't feel like people talk about that enough, how it's not this cut and dry thing. It does come in waves.
Mm-hmm.
My trauma goes way back. I was bullied in school. I had transferred schools. I had transferred schools first, and that's when I started getting bullied. So I transferred back to my hometown, Williamson, and the life that I had left behind was not there waiting on me. Either my friends had also left that school or we just wasn't friends anymore. But regardless, when I was getting bullied at Belfry, my mental health was impacted so much. I thought and my parents thought transferring me back to Williamson was going to be the answer, what fixed that situation. But when I went back to Williamson, I was so lonely, I was alone. I didn't have, these friends waiting on me or whatever, this life waiting on me back at Williamson. And so that impacted my mental health even more. I ended up hanging out with the wrong crowd, which led me to situations and places I just should have never been in, which led to more trauma. Because when we put ourselves in places that we shouldn't be, around people that we shouldn't be around, it just came with a lot more trauma. So I went from being bullied to putting myself in those situations to getting into a relationship that lasted a long time, and it was not a good one. It came with a lot of trauma, and next thing I know, by this point, I'm upper teens, early 20s. Next thing you know, I'm a single mom. At no point did I ever pause to heal from being bullied in school or to heal from the other situations that I ended up putting myself in, or the relationship issues, the issues that came with that relationship. At no point did I ever stop or have an opportunity to stop or pause. I need to heal from this. Before I move on with life, I need to heal from... No, that doesn't happen. Especially as a mother, a single mother, or any mother. doesn't have that opportunity to just fall apart and then just heal properly.
And then when we're kids being bullied and having to deal with that type of trauma, we don't know how to heal because, one, we don't know what's going on with us. We're just aggravated or depressed and sad all the time, or we're angry.
We don't even know what's going on.
And our parents grew up in a time where none of that was talked about as open as it is now.
None of it was talked about.
And if you talked about it, that meant you were broken, you were weak. We don't discuss that because we're not broken or we're not weak. And it's like, or it was, my mom would always say, we don't air out our dirty laundry, we just keep going.
Right. And so that's what we do. And especially once we become mothers, I became a mom at an early age, not as early as this one, but, and you just don't have that opportunity to take a break.
Mm-mm.
We're in survival mode, and you just have to keep pushing. You have to keep moving. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it's talked about. Nobody talks about how lonely healing is.
Mm-hmm.
It is so lonely. Nobody talks about how you can be a mother and love your kids so much and love your life. I have a career and I got my degrees, which was, a goal for me. I got us this home and I done it, by myself as a single mother. What's there to be sad about, right?
Like, what's missing at this point?
Yeah.
And
so when I do have bad days or sad days, or I feel like I might not be fully healed, it comes with this guilt that nobody talks about. You can love your kids and love your life and still struggle.
Mm-hmm.
And still not be fully healed. You can be healing while you are still surviving and pushing through
mm-hmm.
and having bad days. Because it is not just a cut and dry thing.
No.
And nobody talks about that enough.
It goes in waves. You have your ups and your downs. I was bullied in middle school, 7th grade, for wearing glasses. And I watched my friend get bullied because they said she was a beaver or railroad tracks because she had braces. And I needed braces. And I told my mom I wasn't doing it. I went and got contacts so I could fit in with that crowd that was like, oh, she'd be so pretty if she didn't have glasses. Well, I want to be cute. I want to be pretty because when we're in high school, that's when we're forming into our hormones, we're forming into who we're really going to be. And then someone's like, oh, you'd be prettier if you didn't have glasses, or you'd be prettier if you had straighter teeth.
Yes, kids are so harsh, I'll tell you.
And it's hard to heal from that because we're just like, okay, it starts at an early age where we have people telling us these negative things. So we believe those negative things as we get older.
Mm.
And then, we grieve. Think about, we have to heal from not being around these people every day when we graduate.
Yeah, you miss your high school days. For me, it was specifically hard because I felt like I ruined my high school days. I started hanging out with this bad crowd and, I didn't even get to enjoy my high school days because I was always into something I should not have been. And mind you, I was this straight A student my entire life. And then that experience happened when I transferred to Belfry. When I transferred back to Williamson, it was people didn't even recognize who I was. I did not know how to cope with what was going on with me. Mm-hmm. And I went from being the straight A student to the trouble kid. The teachers didn't recognize me. My parents didn't know how to help me. They didn't know what was going on with me or how to help. I sure didn't know how to help myself. And I was just trying to cope with it however way I could. And yeah, nobody talks about how early trauma starts. It starts
early. It can start early.
It can.
I was a mom in high school. I had my child my junior year. I was 16. I was almost 17. And I was single because me and her dad broke up before she was even born. And it was not a very good breakup because, like, it just wasn't a good situation. We were both young.
Yeah.
And he's in her life now, and I couldn't say anything bad about him. He tries, and he's there when she needs him to be, and he takes care of her when she has him, when she's with him, and I don't have to worry about it. And like, we just co-parent very well, but she's older now. She's 16. And my biggest thing was I worried so much about, like, you get paid. They say you get paid back for what you do to your parents. And I was like, what if she has a baby in high school? Like, my mom had the luxury of, like, being a stay-at-home mom in that moment, in that time. Now it's impossible to be a stay-at-home mom. Even if you are married, it takes 2 incomes to make it. So I'm like, what would happen if I had to take care of this grandkid and not be able to work? Or have to pay for daycare so she could still finish school. Because at that moment, you have to finish school. You have to finish school or get a GED. You have to, because you have to take care of this little baby.
Yeah. So
here I am, a kid with a kid, not knowing what to do. And I'm grateful for my mom and dad because they did help me a whole lot. But I also had to heal from learning how to be a mom by myself, just with my parents. Like, so it led, everything leads into trauma, I guess. Like, I had, a high school relationship that wasn't great. I had a baby. I was bullied. I got out of high school, and funny story was my sister went to, she's like, take me to meet this guy. I've been talking to him, da-da-da. And I was like, okay, fine, whatever. And while I'm on my way there, I'm actually calling Dollar General, and I'm like, yeah, I quit. Bye.
Oh, my gosh.
And so I quit my job, and withdrew from college, quit my job, took her to meet this guy, and she didn't speak to him. We pulled up, and there was silence. I was like, talk to him. What are you doing? Like, I didn't.
Was she shy?
I don't know. She was like, nah. I was like, I didn't drag you all the way over here. Like, and then he was like, why are you driving? And I was like, what do you mean, why am I driving? I'm 18. Well, how old is she? And I was like, 15 or 16. Like, she's almost 16 at the time. Or she was 16 and I was 18. I can't really remember. Like, or I don't know. We're 2 years apart and she was younger. And he was like, oh, I thought she was the older one. You don't look like you're older. Everybody tells me that. And I was like, nope, I'm the older one. And that leads into me and him getting into a relationship. And that was cheating. And it was just bad. My family hated him. His family hated me. It just didn't work out. And then, I had to heal from, like, feeling like I wasn't good enough. Or, like, and here I am young. So I get into another relationship a couple months later. And then that's going great for a while. And the first red flag was he started coming home and was like, because we lived together, and he was starting to come home and be like, well, when I was in Pikeville this weekend, I cheated on you, and would give me detail. Descriptive detail. And I'm just sitting there, like, on the couch, like, what the heck?
Like, what was his purpose?
To hurt me. That was his purpose, was to hurt me.
Give you details.
And it worked. I went into the bedroom. I cried and sobbed, whatever. And then, but I stayed.
Yeah.
And taught him that was okay, so it just continued. And then, but that turned into verbal abuse and mental abuse and emotional abuse. And then later on down the road, it turned into physical abuse. That I knew if I didn't get out of it eventually, I may not ever get out of it. And, like, when he proposed to me in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, on my birthday one year, because we went down there for Memorial Day weekend, and I bought my own engagement ring. It was like $30 on one of them, like, little stores that's, like, on the Parkway in Gatlinburg there, and you walk in and you're like, oh, that's such a pretty ring. And he's like, do you want it? And I was like, yeah. He's like, well, buy it. So I did. And then he gets in the car and he's like, you have it on already? And I was like, yeah. He's like, so you want to marry me? And I was like, yeah, I'm so excited. Such an idiot. And then, like,
I can't judge.
So, like, the abuse had got worse. And then finally he came home from work one morning and it was like, I'm going to leave and we're going to break up because you did too much for me and I want to be more independent. And I was like, who is she? And then turns out I know who she was. And then I was like, I don't even care that it happened at that point because I was just like, okay, fine, you can pack your stuff and leave. Go live with her. I don't care, but you're not going to stay in my house. And it was a whole big scenario. And he's like, you're not going to fight for a relationship? I was like, that relationship's done gone. Like, it's been gone.
Yeah.
And I packed his stuff and put it by the door, and he came home the next morning and was like, what's all this? And I was like, that's your crap. And I get it out of my house or I'm going to throw it in the yard. But there was other words that I had said in there. But I'm trying to be not crude on this podcast. And I still gave him money because he couldn't get to work until he got his paycheck to be able to rent a new house. And I was like, okay, you can stay here. I'll give you $100. That has to be for gas. If you spend it on anything else, that's on you. I'm not giving you any more. And then he leaves, goes to her house, and I'm sitting there like, well, is he alive? I gave him money. He's supposed to be here by now. Because I was heartbroken. I'm not going to tell you that I wasn't heartbroken, but I was like, I knew that it needed to be over.
But, you know, I love that you say that, like, though, that you still gave him money and you still cared, because that's another part about trauma that nobody talks about, is that we can still
care,
miss, or even love the ones that hurt us.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that's talked about enough.
No.
And that comes with guilt. Like, this person hurt me so much.
Mm-hmm.
Why do I still care?
Why would I even think of giving him money?
Why do I miss him? Why do I give him money when he needs it? You know, those types of things. Nobody talks about how you can be so traumatized by a person or a situation, but miss it.
Yeah.
You can miss a situation or miss a person, even though it was bad for you.
Mm-hmm. And after he was gone, they had issues or whatever. And every time they'd have an issue, he'd message me or call me and be like, we're broke up. Like, I miss you. I should have never done this to you. I'm sorry. And then at one point was like, why are you telling everybody that I hurt you and, like, abused you? And I was like, well, if you didn't want it to be talked about, you shouldn't have done it. And he was like, well, you're ruining my reputation. And I was like, I don't care.
No.
Like, I don't care. And then I was like, but I don't think I ever really healed from that before I got into another relationship. Because, like, yeah, I was single for 2.5 years. And then COVID was a thing and you couldn't leave your house. I got furloughed from work and I was just making TikToks. And I was like, oh, I'm happy. I'm making TikToks. Like, I'm feeling good about myself. I lost some weight.
Everything's perfect.
But then, like, I also got into the wrong, like, not the wrong crowd. Like, I wouldn't say the wrong crowd, but, like, I went into a situation where I was like, I've been with this person for 4 years, almost 5 years. And I didn't have, like, that, I'm 21, I'm going to go out and party and live my life. Because I was already a mother. And,
so you didn't have, like, your party girl phase.
I didn't have my party girl phase. So I justified, like, Maddie was with my mom, and I was like, I'm living on my own still. I kicked him out of the house, and I'm going to do what I want to do. Like, it just is what it is. And I started going to, like, the chicken fights, and I did not go to disclaimer this because she hates that I talk about it. I did go.
It's terrible.
And do I condone it?
We don't judge here.
Do I condone it? No, I don't condone what happens up at them fights, but I also wasn't going just because I wanted to go see chickens fight. It wasn't the reason. My friends went. I was partying up there, you know, drinking, doing things I shouldn't have been doing. And the first night I went, I didn't go the following weekend because it was like Christmas weekend. And I got a message on Facebook from one of the guys up at the chicken fights. And he was like, did I see you this past weekend? And I was like, yeah, I was there. or are you coming back? And I was like, I don't know, maybe it was my first time, like, I really don't go out much, I have a child, blah, blah, blah. Well, if you come back and I see you, I'll make sure I speak. And I was like, okay. So it turned into, I went just because I wanted to hang out with him, and that was just like a whole situationship where it was like, and he was upfront and honest with me, as in like, I'm a hoe, I'm a piece of crap, you don't deserve this, like, you're better, you deserve so much better. And I was like, I can fix you, honey. And I'll never forget the day that he was like, I'm not looking for a relationship right now. I'm going through a divorce. I have kids. It's just a whole big mess. But we can hang out and have fun. And that's what we did. I would go to chicken fights. I would go to the bar afterwards, shut it down, and end up in Bradshaw an hour and 30 minutes from my house for the whole weekend.
Bradshaw.
Not being a mom at all. And I'll never forget the day that, which I also knew that I wasn't the only one he was hanging out with.
Mm-hmm.
And all this time he's like, I don't want a relationship, blah, 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 blah. He thought he got this girl pregnant, and it turned out not to be his baby, but he got into a relationship with her. And I saw it on Facebook, was that so-and-so is in a relationship with so-and-so, and I was like devastated. I felt like I was lied. I felt like I was lied to. My heart was broken because I was like, he was the type of guy that you look at, and me having all these like mental issues of like, I'm not good enough, I'm not skinny enough, no one's gonna like me, no one's gonna want me. And I was like, but he does. He just didn't want me as a girlfriend. And I mean, I was going up there and cooking dinner every weekend. Like, it was a good time. But I didn't heal from anything. I went straight into that, and then I had to re-heal because I was heartbroken again. And I was like, forget it, I'm done. And then 2.5 years after that, I met another guy who used my anxiety and depression against me to dump me. Worked in healthcare and came home the week, like, we moved in together. It went really, really fast. And I met him during COVID through a mutual friend. And I was like, oh, this is the bee's knees right here, honey. Which we all think every guy we get in a relationship with at first is the bee's knees. Like, it's new, it's the honeymoon phase, it's great. We were together for 8 months. We were living together. And he came home. I remember, like, I had to work. I picked up an evening shift. He was off work. And he came through the house and said, I got to run down to this place because something happened at the station. And he was a supervisor, so he had to go. And I was like, why do you have jeans on? You don't ever wear jeans when you're home. I didn't realize he was leaving. And then, like, I went to work that night. This was a week after Valentine's Day. And I worked that night, came home, and he wasn't home yet. And I texted him, and I couldn't get a hold of him. I was freaking out. Because that's your first thought is, something's bad has happened.
Yeah.
They're hurt. I've got to go find them, whatever. 1:30 at night, he texts me and says, I don't think we should be together. Texts me, and I don't think I'm coming home tonight. And I said, what do you mean? And then he came back home that next day, and we had a conversation, and it was an argument, honestly. And he said, your anxiety and depression is just too much for me. You asked me why I had jeans on, and I was like, I was curious as to where you were going. I was going to work. I don't care what you do. And then he said, well, give me a week, and I'm going to think about it. I'm going to go stay away from the house, and I'm going to think about it. And I gave him that week like an idiot. And I cried and laid in the bed because I didn't work but weekends only. And I cried and laid in the bed for the whole week and didn't leave the house. I barely ate because I couldn't eat. And I was just so heartbroken. And he came back to the house that night. And I said, so did you decide? And he was like, yeah, like this is done. And I was like, okay. I said, so help me pack this box to the car or whatever. And I left and went back to my mom's. And, I had to hear that, I told you so. You moved too fast, da-da-da-da-da.
That's always the worst, that I told you so's.
And I was, like, devastated, crying. Like, it was just like such a terrible moment in my life because his words were, your anxiety and depression is too much for me. So here I am, like, I'm already struggling because it's during COVID. I couldn't go to the doctor, couldn't get my medicine at this point because they still wasn't doing telehealth. And I didn't have my medicine for my anxiety and depression. I wasn't able to see my therapist. And he used that against me and made me feel like I was broken. So it made it so much
terrible.
worse.
That is terrible.
And then I dived into anxiety and like CBT workbooks and journals and moved back
working on yourself.
Working on myself, and was like, if I work on myself, he'll come back.
Oh, like let me fix me. So
He'll come back. And then by the time that it happened, I just was like, I didn't want it anymore.
Right.
But I also knew that I wasn't fully healed. But in that moment, I was like, oh, I'm healed. I don't want him anymore. Like, I'm good. But and I wasn't, because I'd still have my highs and my lows.
Right.
But like,
that's something that that's something else that like nobody talks about, is how people deal with trauma so differently. Kind of like how she was saying,
if I fix myself, he'll come back.
Right.
If I correct the mistakes, he'll come back.
But you said earlier, you made the point that like you jumped into like the next relationship so fast.
Because I didn't want to be alone.
You jumped, like from relationship to relationship to relationship, and that's how you were dealing with what was going on in your life. Whereas for me, and this is like how this is proof that everybody deals with things differently. After that first traumatizing relationship that I had, like in my upper teens, early 20s, after that,
you were done.
How I dealt with it, and this is something that this is something else that nobody talks about, is trauma can make you push people away.
Yeah.
And that's what I'd done for years. Like, even like when I first met you, I think, I had not gave a man the time of day in years.
Yeah, and I was like, you need to get out there a little.
Yes.
This is why you're depressed.
That's something else that nobody talks about, is everybody deals with trauma differently. And also, trauma can cause you to push people away. And that brings me to my next point, is that, like a key thing that I kept in my head after that relationship was, I will never mess up my peace like that ever again. And any man that enters my life will not bring peace. That was like stuck in my head,
Yeah.
My kids and I will never have to hear arguing again. Like the fighting, the arguing, all the mess. Like, I will never do it again. And so what I done was push everybody away. I done that for so long. And here's something else that nobody talks about, is that silence in a home can be just as hard as hearing constant arguing. Especially when you're used to
constant arguing.
Yeah. It's like, oh, the arguing is gone, the fighting's gone. But what am I supposed to do with myself? Like,
which is why you stayed like grinding, busy, school, work.
And like, she makes a good point. How I dealt with the quiet, like it's quiet, like it's lonely. I dove into school, working full time, multiple jobs at a time, several times in my life. And I'm just always on the go, because, and I've realized over the years that when I slow down or like give myself breaks, it's not easy. Because then you're forced to, like, your mind's not going, you're not busy, and like you're forced to think about things you don't want to think about, and that's why I say, like, healing really is a long process. I've done so much work on myself, especially since I got into the mental health field and stuff. I've done a lot of work on myself, and I've become aware of things.
I don't think that, I think that's what helped me realize I wasn't healed.
Getting into this field?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like
I learned a lot about myself getting into this field. And, as professionals, we have to make sure that we're okay, in order to go help others.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of forces you to,
become open-minded and self-aware.
Self-aware, and you have to really reevaluate yourself and your life, and, what am I doing to make sure that I'm good, Yeah. And you have to, make sure that self-care is everything. I've learned that in my healing journey. I'm not going to say my healing journey is over, because it is not. I don't think it, for me, how I think of it, is it'll never be over. I'm going to continue to heal. And, I'm going to have bad days sometimes. I'm going to have bad days. And that is okay. Mm-hmm. Nobody talks about that enough. You're allowed to have bad days.
You're allowed to not be okay. It's okay to not be okay.
Don't feel like your healing journey started all over, or that you've not healed at all just because you have a bad day. It really does come like this. You're going to have good days. You're going to have bad days. And that is okay. I think if any message gets out there tonight, I would want it to be that one, that it's okay
to not be okay.
To not be okay.
And it's okay to cry, and it's okay to be aggravated, and it's okay to be angry. Mm-hmm. Because healing does come in waves of sadness, anger, irritation, exhaustion.
Trauma sometimes can look like anger instead of sadness, or it can be sadness instead of why am I not mad at this guy? Or this person. Why am I not mad at him? And that can be frustrating. I should hate him. I should be so mad at him. Mm-hmm. But sometimes it just don't come that way. It, sometimes the sadness comes, but you just miss that person or that situation. And stuff like that can come with guilt too, Mm-hmm.
Self-care wasn't my first go-to after I started my healing journey. It was more I had to let things go that were not in my control. I could not control someone wanted to be with me or not. I couldn't control how they felt about me, but I could control how I felt. And
I love that you say that. You have to look at what you can control versus what you can't.
I think I spent a lot of time on the things that I couldn't control. I want to fix myself so he'll come back. I can't control that because I did work on myself and he never came back, but I didn't want him to come back at that time. And like you said, pushing people away, after that I was done. I never thought that I'd find anybody, because my thought, you didn't want to hear the constant argument, and you're everybody's going to bring chaos, and
you're right,
and I'm not dealing with it. My thought was someone's going to come into my life and just take until I'm drained, and I'm not doing it anymore.
Yeah.
And it helped me learn, too, what I wanted. And I'd go out on little dates every once in a blue moon, but it would never go past that one date. Because I'd be red flag, I'm done. I'm not looking at this anymore. The smallest, minute little red flag, I was out. Mm-hmm. Because at that point, I knew what I wanted. Because I was in school, I was working full-time. I was just worrying about, getting through my bachelor's degree and taking care of my child, because she was in 2 different sports, and I was never home. I was either working or at sports or dealing with school stuff at home. And I just kind of stayed on the grindstone for a while, and then it kind of hit me that I may have pushed a lot of people away that would have been good to me, but my thought was, I'm not doing this again. And I did start dating this one person. Not dated. We never publicly dated, but everybody who, but they saw us together in public, they knew that there was a thing. couldn't decide if he wanted to be with me or his ex. And he called me he's like, call me when you're on your lunch, like on your break or whatever. We got to talk. And I said, okay. And I called him and he was like, I don't know if I want to be with you or her. And I said, well, I'm going to go ahead and tell you that I'll make your decision for you. You can be with her. Because at that moment, I wasn't healed, but I knew that I wasn't a second choice or a second option anymore. I wasn't going to be made to feel like that.
I love it. So
and I said,
you were like really setting boundaries. Like, nope, not going to deal with this now.
And I told him, I was like, I'll make that decision for you.
And that is proof that your healing journey had started.
Mm-hmm. Because, like, at that moment, I said, I'm making that decision for you. You can go ahead and have her because this is done. But why? I don't know. And I'm like, because the moment that you decided there was somebody else, I was done.
You wasn't choosing me in that moment.
It wasn't choosing me in that moment. I was a second option, and I will never be a second option. I deserve too much of that. And I was like, if I never find anybody, I'm cool. Because we have to learn how to be happy by ourselves.
Yes.
Before we can be happy with somebody
nobody
else.
talks about that enough.
Like, you have to be happy alone before you can be happy with another person. So it was like 3-4 years had went by, and I only had that one, like, situationship or whatever. And Maddie was getting older. She wanted to hang out with her friends. It wasn't cool to hang out with Mom anymore. And we went to the movies, and she was going on a date with her little boyfriend, and her best friend was on a date with her little boyfriend. And she was like, Mom, you think you could sit in the car? I said, I always go to the movies with you. She said, yeah, but it's date night, and you don't have a date. I said, so maybe it's time that I branch out to find somebody to hang out with and spend my time with. And I made a Tinder. And I went to delete my Tinder, and this guy popped up on my Tinder, and I swiped, and he hadn't swiped and matched me yet. So I was like, I'm going to give it an hour. And if I don't hear nothing back, I'm going to delete it. I was done. And he swiped, gave me his cell phone number, and August 20th of this year, we'll be married a year.
Found her husband on Tinder.
So it's possible. But I also will say that if you're on Tinder and you're trying to find a husband, you have to find somebody that is wanting the same things that you want and have the same values as you. Because if they're on Tinder just because they want to find a hookup or whatever, you're not going to find a husband in that. It was just very like, it was just very odd because I never expected to find somebody that I would marry from Tinder. And when we met for the first time, it was like, someone had said, you know. When you know, you know. And I was like, nah, I don't believe in that. He got out of the car that night, and I was talking to my friend who was in Michigan, and I said, holy crap. She said, what is it? And I said, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure my husband's looking at me right now. And we were inseparable from that night. But I will tell you,
I love a good love story.
Like, we were inseparable from that night that we met, and he has been the most supportive person in my life besides my mom and dad. And sometimes, like, I run to him before I run to my mom and dad sometimes. And I'm sorry, Mom, if you watch this, but he became that companion for me, that safe place that I knew I was never going to have to worry about anything. And there are times we want to choke each other, I'm sure. Because we've been together for 2 years. This November will be 3 years together, and August will be a year married. But I will tell you that if I didn't spend the time apart from dating and learning what I wanted and what I didn't want, I wouldn't have been able to have said, yeah, I'm going to be with you, because I'd have been like, first date, never talk to you again.
Yeah.
And it was just different. So it is out there after trauma. It just doesn't happen when you want it to. It happens when you least expect it. Who would have thought that you'd get on Tinder and find a husband? Not me. Oh. And, so it is out there if you want it to be. Like, and you're not going to know it's going to happen. It's going to happen when you least expect it. But I will tell you that I'm still in a healing process. I'm married, and I have the best husband, good career, best husband ever. And there's still days that I struggle, and I'm like, how is it that I can be so depressed but have everything that I ever wanted? And I still say that that's because I'm not healed, because I still sometimes make him pay for things he didn't have anything to do with.
Yeah.
And he'll be like, why are you doing that? And I'm like, and I don't even realize I'm doing it until he brings it up. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, but you don't understand, like, the trauma that I've dealt with. And, like, any little thing can trigger me. But he's actually loved me through it and not made me feel like crap about it.
Yeah, I love that.
But like my question to sit with is, how do we know we're ever healed? How do we know our healing journey is over, or does it ever end?
Personally,
I don't think it's ever going to end.
I don't think my healing journey is ever going to end. Like, I will continue to heal. You know, I think that those bad days are going to keep coming, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I might have months, maybe even a year, a whole year. I doubt it. But, you know, I might have months and months and months that are, like, so good. But then
it all bottoms out eventually. Like,
it's okay to have a bad day and still be healing from things. And why I say that I don't think my healing journey will ever truly be over is because this is life. Things are going to keep happening.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
the world is crazy.
We might lose a job or a friend
or a
loved one, and we're going to have to heal from those things too.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, that's why I say that I don't think the healing journey is ever truly over. We might be healed from certain situations. Yes.
But there's always going to be something to heal from.
But there's always going to be something to heal from. And so it's okay to not be okay.
Mm-hmm.
I could say that a million times over.
And it's okay not to be okay.
Like, don't feel guilty about having a bad day. You moms out there, don't feel guilty if your kid catches you crying. That's happened to me. And I know the guilt that it comes with. Like, my kid just caught me crying. Like, they deserve a happy mom. And you know what? They do have a happy mom. But they also have a mom that struggles sometimes. And
literally,
that's
Sunday night, Maddie walked into the bedroom and I was bawling. And Lionel was like, what is wrong? And I was like...
Yes, and so it's okay to have nights like that. It's okay to not be okay. We would love to hear your stories too.
Especially if you're going through a healing journey. What has been your top thing to heal? Like, how have you healed? Self-care is a thing. Find something that you enjoy to do and take 30 minutes of your time and do it. Whether if it's reading a book or journaling or reading the Bible or like, one thing I like to do is watch podcasts. And my husband says, no wonder you think negative all the time. You watch true crime all the time. And I was like, I can't help it. I love it. I want to know everything that happens. And he's like, but do you not see how depressing this can be? And I was like, but I love it. And that's what I like to do. Or read a book.
Something that you enjoy.
Read a book. And I will tell you, if you're going through a rough patch where you're having some self-love issues, like you don't feel like you love yourself, there's a workbook out there for women, and it's called a self-love workbook. And you can get it on Amazon. You can download the PDF. You can do an online workbook and just write it down in your own workbook. But it really helped me to love or start to love who I am, because I'm not going to tell you that I fully do. But I'm getting there.
Yeah.
And it's getting better. But like we said in the last episode, we have a TikTok, a YouTube, and we have a Gmail account. It's all linked in our profiles. Send us an email. Ask us questions. Let us know what you think about our videos. Let us know how you're healing.
Yes, and I would love for our next podcast to be answering some questions that you guys have for us. We want to hear what you guys have to say, or if you guys want us to hit on a certain topic, or if you just have questions or things to say about tonight's episode. So,
just remember, healing's not pretty.
That's facts.